Welcome back to the newsroom here at France 24. This is live from Paris, and it's time now for Media Watch, when we find out what's being said on the blogs, on the tweets, in the papers, and all the rest of it. Olivia Salazar-Winsper is here for that tonight. Hello there, Olivia.
Hello.
Now, let's talk about Mediapart. This is an investigative website, they call themselves. They have had a few scoops in the past, haven't they? And now they say they are 100% standing by a story that Nicolas Sarkozy got campaign funding from Muammar Gaddafi.
Yeah.
It beggars belief. What's happened?
Mediapart is headlining this morning with a document that they have access to that says they can prove that Libyan authorities wrote, well, it's a letter writing to other Libyan authorities who are kind of finalising the deal in Paris, that they were to donate 50 million euros in campaign funding in 2007 for Sarkozy's campaign, which suggests a very, very healthy friendship between Gaddafi's regime and Sarkozy's UMP party, or at least the figure of Sarkozy. Now, this came out this morning. Sarkozy has obviously denied absolutely everything. He gave an interview to on France 2, the public television channel, also to Le Parisien, the newspaper, saying this is absolutely false. The document in question is definitely a fake.
He says he'll sue, doesn't he?
He says he's going to sue the company. Here, he's actually announced that on his Twitter feed, as is the modern way. We will be taking Mediapart to court. And that will be done before the end of the campaign, which only gives him a few days, actually.
6 days, right, okay.
Now, what's interesting about this is lawsuits are not a new thing for Nicolas Sarkozy. This is actually the 8th time the French president has threatened to take a company or a person to court. He doesn't seem to have much of a sense of humour about these things. The French Huffington Post has called him Nicolas Sarkozy the lawsuit king here. And they've quoted other times. He took Ryanair, for example, to court over using his image as part of their advertising, and various other incidents where he...
How many has he won, though, I wonder?
Well, I think most of them are still, in
Pending. Right.
And having process. So, even François Fillon has come out in defence of Nicolas Sarkozy, saying, of course, this is all rubbish, there's no link to Libya, and he's really slammed the website Mediapart, saying that the site is just an operation controlled by François Hollande's rich journalist friends, and its only goal is not to do investigative journalism, but is to smear the president.
All right, and in case you've been under a rock for the past 2 years, let's not forget that France led the military offensive, really, didn't it, to oust Muammar Gaddafi last year. So
exactly.
All very interesting indeed. All right, now let's talk about the campaign trail, which, as you say, there's just 6 days to go until that final runoff vote. What's been going on today?
Well, today we've had a little bit more campaigning, of course, from the candidates, but media campaigning in that they've released 2 new little clips, publicity clips, that will be shown on television and also available on the internet as well. Now, these are little party political broadcasts that act like infomercials, laying out their campaign strategies. And since this is the final communication they'll be making, these ones really go in quite hard with the absolute essence of what their campaign message is. So for François Hollande, he's sticking to the very general socialist themes, social equality.
C'est maintenant le changement.
Yeah, the change is now, unity, getting rid of elitism and privilege in France. There's nothing terribly new there. But for Sarkozy, what's very...
So it's not actually concrete policy, is it? It's ideas
There's
and
nothing
ideology.
policy. It's all very philosophical, as we've come to expect in France. But the thing is, it's very concentrated. That's what's interesting, because these are the last days, and this is the last communication. It's really down to the essential now.
Okay.
Sarkozy, however, has taken a very, very right-wing stance on his. He's made an obvious bid for the National Front's voters, because his campaign, or his communication, is all about immigration and protecting Europe's borders, stopping Europe from being so porous, protecting a certain civilization, as he calls it, or a French way of life. And he's done some very clever editing, actually. The beginning of the clip is just sound bites, the man or woman in the street saying, this is why I believe Nicolas Sarkozy's the man to lead France and the next president. So they're really going in for the kill now. It's the last days.
And he has been accused, hasn't he, of using these underlying messages to pick up votes from the far right, which he needs if he's to have any chance
I don't think there's any
winning.
doubt about the fact that he's doing that now. This is
100% on immigration.
Totally centred on immigration.
That's interesting. Okay, now François Hollande then is the front runner, isn't he? Everybody expects him to win, bar a huge upset. He is expected to be the president this time next week, really, if you think about it. But some journalists have perhaps jumped the mark a little. They've already made a film about his victory.
Yes. Well, first of all, Francois Hollande had been accused by many media outlets of already kind of parading around as if he was already the president of France. But now it's actually the press who are slightly responsible and have got in on the act, jumping the gun. This is a journalist called Denis Jambard, who was so convinced of Francois Hollande's chances that he started following him a year ago to make a documentary about the campaign and the eventual victory of the next French president.
Well, he was ahead of the crowd, wasn't he?
Absolutely. I mean, he's probably the only person to have like this much access to Francois Hollande because no one was really shadowing him at the time. Now, he's already pre-sold the documentary to a lot of American channels, CBS, Fox, NBC.
Very lucrative.
Because what you have to remember is that Francois Hollande, not having held a very high-profile post, is relatively unknown internationally. So American channels are suddenly thinking, oh, we better familiarise our public with him if he's going to be France's next president.
Maybe Obama will be buying a copy. Might not know
But
who he is
as
either.
we know, I mean, but it's not, as you say, it's not, nothing's signed and sealed. I mean, it's all still to play for. And The Telegraph today had an article saying, be careful, a little bit of a cautionary tale for Francois Hollande.
Yes.
Could he be making the same mistake as Neil Kinnock? Because in 1992, I don't know if you remember.
I do.
A young girl.
I was at school.
But Neil Kinnock was ahead in the polls. Most people in the UK
The
were...
Labour leader, the left-wing leader.
left-wing Labour leader. Most people were convinced that Labour were going to make a comeback in 1992, and John Major actually won. So Francois
It was
Hollande
a big upset, wasn't
should
it?
not be counting his chickens before they hatch.
He'll be hoping he's not the next Neil Kinnock. All right, Olivia Salazar-Winspear, many thanks indeed. We'll be seeing you again, won't we, in Campaign Chronicles?
Indeed.
All right, don't miss that. Now, let's turn to web news. Many stories doing the rounds for you tonight, including protests in India against web censorship. Take a look.